So, good morning students. Till now we have read about the tensile behavior of a material, then we have seen the hardness behavior of a material, right? And from the tensile chapter we have seen that the materials are having a stress strain curve from which I can have some idea that at which place a material can fail. Rather, we can say that the fracture property, right. So, today we will be seeing the fracture behavior of materials and try to understand that where from the fracture stresses are, how it comes and how that can be correlated with the applied stress level or material's internal strength level, etc. Okay, so we have seen in a material that there is this elastic part, and elastic part is having we have some measurement of the elastic modulus of a material. So, where from that strength comes to a material that we have to see. So, we know that elastic modulus of material is designated by the term capital E, okay, for a material. So, capital E, what is the level of this? Say for iron or steel, I said sometimes around 200 gigapascal. So, it is in the range of 200 gigapascal for a typical material like steel. So, many other materials also, if we see that, we will find that the theoretical or rather the elastic modulus is in the range of gigapascals. Now, where from these strengths are coming? So, we know that there is atomic bonding in a material. So, in say metal we have regular arrangement of these atoms and we have certain bonds. So, we have certain bond strengths, right. So, from where we can see that if in a regular arrangement of atoms we apply some amount of stress to it or any load, we try to load it, try to elongate, then what will happen? This atom obviously will try to shift them from their positions, isn't it? So, if we try to shift them, obviously there will be some amount of say resistance from the metal itself, and from that resistance actually we try to calculate all the properties, material strengths, fracture stress, etc., everything, elastic modulus, etc. So, what actually happens in a material is, if atomic bondings are there, then there will be simultaneously some amount of attractive forces as well as some amount of repulsive forces between the atoms. So, where from these attractive and repulsive forces may come? Two atoms, obviously we know that if any metal is there, there are various kinds of bonds, bond strength we have heard. So, between the two atoms there will be some amount of attractive forces, and again there will be some repulsive forces in between the outer shell, electron orbital, etc. So, we know that. Now, if I try to deform or I try to put some load on any material, then what will happen? Say initial separation of this was a particular distance, means two atoms are separated by some certain distance, interatomic spacing we know, isn't it? So, if two atoms are separated by a certain distance, say that is designated by A naught, and then I try to deform it, apply some load. So, if we apply that load, then what will happen? The attractive force and repulsive force which is actually existing, both will reduce. But what we find is the reduction of the repulsive force is much more pronounced, or rather the reduction of the repulsive force happens at a faster rate than the reduction of the attractive force. So, there will be a net force development, there will be a net force development in the material as we are putting some load to it. So, net force development will give you some resultant of these forces, and that actually will increase, because as I said the repulsive force reduces at a much faster rate, and then there will be a peak. Why? Because up to that portion, what we will find that repulsive force reduce such a high magnitude that it becomes almost negligible, and then attractive force also reduces, and we give or we get a curve like this. That means what? Now, as soon as you apply some load to a structure or say two atoms which are there bonded well, and we in absence of the load, if there is a separation distance a naught, then on application of this load both attractive and repulsive forces will reduce, and that reduction will be for the attractive and repulsive same different way, because repulsive force, it has been seen that reduces much more extent than the attractive force and will have a resultant force, and on which at a certain distance of the atoms I will find that the repulsive force is almost negligible. So, then attractive force reduction will come down, okay, and we will find this kind of nature. This can be approximated with a sine curve, nature of sine curve you can say, and this extent which is the top of this, basically after that what will happen, now the attractive force between the atoms is also losing. So, we will try to will have material atoms will be which will be separated with much more distance. So, there is no or less, very less attraction in between them. So, what we will find is a maxima will be there in this curve, and which we try to say as the theoretical cohesive strength of a material. So, the sigma max that we can produce is the theoretical cohesive strength of a material. Now, how theoretical cohesive strength is related with other that stress parameters, that only we try to resolve. Okay. So, if a material is having high theoretical cohesive strength, that means what? How can I tell the material property from that? Theoretical cohesive strength high means material may have say high elastic modulus, it will have high melting point, it may have the low coefficient of thermal expansion. These are the outcome if you have a high theoretical cohesive strength, and as we can approximate this with a sine curve. So, the applied load sigma can be equated with this equation, that sigma max sine 2 pi x by lambda. Where is x? This direction it is x. Okay. The one sine wave I can represent as lambda by 2, and the initial separation as already mentioned is a naught. So, the sigma can be equated as sigma max into sine 2 pi x by lambda. Sigma is what? Now, the applied load or applied pressure that we are giving to the material. Okay. Yes. Yes, y axis you think of what it will be? You tell. What will be the area? Yes, you can write it force, no problem. You write it force, and here you write the distance. Okay. Obviously, even if it is atomic level, I can take a cluster, I can divide it by that area, and then in atomic level you find out the stress. That is not a big thing. Okay. So, this axis you have force, here I have the distance. Okay. Now, sigma, as I said, the applied load or force as she mentioned can be equated with sigma max sine 2 pi x by lambda. Now, this sine for very small values of this any theta or angle, I can say that in atomic level the sin 2 pi x by lambda can be equated with, or rather we know that for very small theta in any angle, sin theta can be approximated with theta, right. So, here this also we can approximate as sin 2 pi x by lambda is equal to or closely equal to 2 pi x by lambda. So, sigma I can write as sigma max into 2 pi x by lambda. Okay. I am clearing up this right side. Now, here we have to assume something for our calculations. That assumption is the assumption that we are taking is the material is a brittle material, that means brittle elastic material. So, if it is a brittle elastic material, I know that the stress strain curve will have a straight line, there is no plastic deformation, and here sigma equal to E into the epsilon or E small e, you can write sigma equal to E E, okay, strain, and this strain equal to E into what is this strain? Now, the distance it is travelling divided by the initial separation of them. Okay. So, I can write that as we are assuming it a brittle elastic material. So, the sigma stress is proportional to the strain as per the Hooke's law we know, and then the strain which is coming there is x, the distance it is travelling in the x direction divided by the initial separation of them or the initial length you can consider. So, this is E into x by a naught. So, this if you try to correlate with this sigma, then I can write that E x by a naught equal to sigma max into 2 pi x by lambda. So, x will go from here and we can write that sigma max equal to E lambda by 2 pi a naught, isn't it? E lambda by 2 pi a naught. All right. Okay. Now, if we consider that, as I said, there will be fracture of a material, and if it fractures a material, that means what? Now, by fracturing it is basically making two new surfaces, isn't it? If I have a fracture of this, I will have formation of two new surfaces. So, each of these surface will have some surface energy. So, fracture represents so we will have formation of two new surfaces, each of which will have surface energy gamma s, and So, if there is formation of new surfaces and we try to find out that for making or creating those surface how much energy is required, as I said that there will be surface energy gamma s for each surface, and if I have these surfaces, then to make it the work done I can have the area under of this curve, the curve that was there. So, I can have an integration like sigma max sin 2 pi x by lambda dx. Okay. So, sorry. This integration you can very easily do, right? Sin 2 pi x by lambda will give you cos etc. Then you put the values of 0 to lambda by 2, you will have this expression that lambda into sigma max by pi. Okay. And this is the work done or the total energy requirement for creating the new surfaces. Earlier we have said that for creating new surfaces I have some surface energy gamma s. So, two new surfaces will have 2 gamma s for both the surfaces. This will be equal to lambda sigma max by pi, right. So, this implies that lambda equal to 2 pi gamma s by sigma max. Okay. So, do you follow this or not? Follow this or not? Who are having question, please ask. Up to this, if you have question, please ask. All right. So, I will have the value of lambda is this. Now, the first equation which we have seen that sigma max equal to lambda by 2 pi E by A naught, in that you just put the value of lambda in the initial equation of sigma max that we have produced earlier. So, there if you put it, you will get 2 pi gamma s by 2 pi into sigma max into E by A naught. Two pi gets cancelled. So, sigma max equal to E gamma s by A naught whole to the power half. Okay. So, what we can produce from here is sigma max equal to E gamma s by A naught whole to the power half. What was our approach? Now, to find out the theoretical cohesive strength is initially the sine curve approximation we have to take, okay, the resultant of attractive and repulsive forces. Then we have approximated that the material as a brittle elastic solid. So, from these two, then we have find out what is the surface energy and the work done or energy required to create that surfaces, and then we have equated it to find out the theoretical cohesive strength of a material, and this comes as E gamma s by A naught whole to the power half. Up to this, is it all right or not? Okay. So, if it is so, then you just try to estimate the theoretical cohesive strength of a material. Say iron, steel, we know that steel is having the elastic modulus as just now you told 200 gigapascal. So it is 200 gigapascal, the value of E on a GPa. Then what is the initial separation, means in unstrained condition, that means the lattice parameter, what is it? Any idea? Range? हाँ बोलो, I don't want any absolute value, just tell the range. हाँ थोड़ा be loud. 3 point something of unit angstrom. So it is 3 point something angstrom. Let us take 3. Okay, I am taking it 0.3 nanometer. चलेगा? So if it is 0.3 nanometer, gamma S, the surface energy term, is having typical value of very close to say 1 joule per meter square. Okay, so I have the value of E, the value of gamma S, and the value of the initial separation A naught as 0.3 nanometer. So try to estimate what is sigma max. Do it, just put it and try to calculate. Let us do it in terms of Pascal, say. So 200 is gigapascal. To make it Pascal, how much it will be? 10 to the power 9. 10 to the power 9. Then gamma S is, as I said, 1 joule per meter square. 1 I have written there, and A naught is 0.3 nanometer, 0.3 nanometer. If it is nanometer, then to make it meter, what it will be? 10 to the power minus 9. Minus 9. Okay. Whole to the power half. Fine. So calculate it. How much we are getting? Unit conversion also you can see. E in GPa I made it Pascal. Okay. Pascal means we know Newton per meter square, na? And then gamma S is the surface energy joule per meter square. Okay, joule means Newton meter. So it is Newton meter per meter square, right? And niche hai only meter, because nanometer I have converted in meter. Whole to the power half, just like. So then this meter, that meter will go. So Newton per meter square whole to the power is square whole to the power half. This will give you only Newton per meter square. That means the value you will get, that will be in terms of Pascal. Okay. So that you try to do. In GPa what it is? Divide by 10 to the power 9 to make it GPa. 25.8. Okay, the value that they have obtained is around 25 gigapascal. Around 25 gigapascal. Okay. Others, have you calculated? Have you? Okay. So the theoretical cohesive strength for steel, what we have got is around 25 gigapascal. Now you have to correlate this theoretical cohesive strength with the material's fracture strength. That means what? For the theoretical cohesive strength discussion, what I said, now after some certain instant, the forces between them will come down very sharp, like that after the top of the sine curve that we have drawn here. So that means what? Now after that, if the material I further try to load it, it must break, because after that there is no attractive force between atoms. है ना? So if the material breaks at that load, then you require a strength of 25 GPa, but none of the metals we find that is having a strength of that high. Do you follow this or not? If the idea of this curve what we have drawn earlier, that it is the resultant of attractive and repulsive forces between the atoms, then there is a sharp tip. At that tip what happens? The material is not having any attractive force between the atoms, means the way I am pulling it away from each other, then at that tip it just there is no attractive force. So, the materials can suddenly break, but if I try to find out the value of that, I will get the theoretical cohesive strength as 25 GPa, but none of the materials break at that high strength or high load, or none of the materials are having that much strength. So, then where is the difficulty? The answer is materials are not defect free. There will be lots of defects present in a material, such that if I try to break it, that much high load compared to the theoretical cohesive strength is not required. Okay. So, we have the idea of cracks. Do you follow this? What is the problem I said and what is the solution I said? Do you follow, all of you? Anybody is having question or doubt, ask me. No question? ठीक है. So, the idea of cracks have come, and what we consider here is materials are inherently having some cracks. For our calculations, we consider those cracks as elliptical cracks. Okay. So, these cracks I can consider as elliptical cracks. So, what that elliptical crack does? Now, if I have a crack present in a material, say this crack length is 2c, etc., and the cracked plate we are loading. Okay, this crack generally we designate by using this crack length c or 2c, means any crack length anywhere is told, you must consider that as 2c. Okay, crack length means you consider that as 2c. Okay, semi crack length basically is c, and that if nothing is mentioned, you consider as an elliptical crack. Okay. And in fracture mechanics we generally use a crack length as small a or 2a, etc., 2a. Okay. This chapter we have this a parameter here a naught. So, we are considering the crack length as 2c, fine. Then if a crack of this kind is present in a material, what it basically does, or rather say if I try to load it, okay, then the stress lines, how they will pass, say here stress lines, only the stress distribution if you try to think of, then here where there is no crack, the stress line can pass directly, but at this region what it will happen, the stress, as the material is having a crack in between, there is nothing, void. So, it has to bypass the cracked region. Something here will have to do this way, that way they have to be, means everywhere it is there, lot of stress lines, etc., will be there. Like that the stress will be distributed if you have a crack in a material. So, what we find basically is at the tip of the crack there will be a stress concentration. The term stress concentration. So, what we have is, if I have a cracked plate, there will be stress concentration, where at the tip of the crack. Okay. So, due to this stress concentration means what? Now, this region I will have huge stressed part, and that stress, it is assumed that it can reach up to the level of theoretical cohesive strength of a material. Okay. Say the radius of curvature of this is rho t, radius of curvature, if that is rho t, then it is shown that sigma max can be, or rather the sigma max at the tip of a crack may be equal to sigma into 1 plus 2 c by rho t whole to the power half. This equation, how that comes, that you forget, because these things, calculations etc., we need not to do. This sigma means the applied load that we are giving, and then that means what? Now, if I apply some certain load of sigma to a structure, then at the tip of the crack that may become very large, very high, okay, because of this kind of stress concentration. Okay. And that maximum sigma that can go at the tip of the crack, we can correlate with the theoretical cohesive strength of a material, means this high stress, and that stress concentration, extent of stress concentration is related to the rho t, that means the sharpness of the crack tip. Okay. You can think of rho t, that means radius of curvature is very small, okay, and the crack length is very greater than rho t. The crack length is very greater than the radius of curvature. Obviously, we can visualize also, the crack length is this much, the radius of curvature is very small here. Okay. So, c by rho t is very greater than 1, c by rho t is very greater than 1. That way I can tell that sigma max equal to 2 sigma max equal to 2 sigma c by rho t whole to the power half. Okay. And earlier what we have seen, that E gamma s by A naught whole to the power half equal to this, this is the theoretical cohesive strength of measurement of theoretical cohesive strength we have seen earlier, that E gamma s by A naught whole to the power half, and here also we told that based on the sharpness of rho t, that stress concentration may reach to a value of theoretical cohesive strength. So, this may be equal to, and both can be equated, and if this is equated, then from here how much is the sigma, equal to E gamma s rho t divided by 4 A naught c whole to the power half. Okay. That means, if a material is having a crack, in that case if I try to deform that cracked plate, then sigma can be equal to this. Okay. And this sigma we can say as the sigma f, the fracture strength of the material. And in this equation, for the sharpest possible this radius of curvature rho t will be equal to a naught, isn't it? The sharpest possible radius of curvature will be equal to a naught. That means I have just taken one atom out as the radius of curvature. Okay, so rho t, if I equate with a naught, if rho t equal to a naught, E gamma is by 4c whole to the power half. Okay.